California has a deficit of $68 billion, and that's following the tax collection recently.
Yeah.
So let me just throw some numbers at you here,
Okay.
David. What I found interesting, first off, between California and Texas, California's state and local revenues and spending are 60% higher than Texas on a per resident basis. On economic performance, both have much to celebrate. Population employment surged in Texas, while not in California, while California's per capita income and GDP have soared in recent years. That's an easy number to fudge when one person's worth $58 billion. You can afford to have a couple worth zero. But both have plenty of room to improve. California stands out for its highest rate of homelessness across the country and low air quality. Texas has a large share of residents without health insurance than other states. Yeah. Crime rates and renewable energy production are similar in the two states, despite very different policies. And while K through 12 spending per student is higher in California, student outcomes are, if anything, better in Texas. And that might be because they're actually teaching them science and facts and logic and not hippy-dippy BS. That also being said, first, key takeaways from like state deficits across the board. Hawaii is actually the most indebted state with government debt at $13,000 per capita.
Oh, okay.
The total state debt balance only being $19 billion compared to that $68 billion.
Just less people.
But smaller land, less people. Colorado recorded the highest household debt per capita with a sum of $89,000, which constitutes a 99.85% of average annual earnings of a Colorado resident. Idaho has the lowest per capita government debt in the nation at $3,000, which accounts for 5.43% of the state's total GDP. And finally, Wyoming holds the smallest state debt as percentage of GDP across the board. Now, that being said, my comment about Hawaii, they're at 19.49%. Right behind them is California with 14.86% of their GDP.
Yeah.
But again, what's interesting, there's California, Colorado, Oregon, Nevada, and Maryland, all within same 14 to 13%. And who's this? Last one, in Massachusetts. That all being said, I just want to, one of the things I'm curious about is how does this impact the rest of us, right? So I'm a big proponent of the Electoral College. I believe that we are 50 countries all trying to, like I said earlier, trying to
assimilate as one.
Well, assimilate as one, but also reap the fruits of the security, safety, and power of this whole country. That's what gets me bent over a barrel when Vermont says they want to secede. You don't get to. At this point, you're with us. You're one of us, and I've become so totalitarian. You are either with us or we snuff you out. You're Vermont. We are the United States. We don't mess around. You either don't get to exist, because here's what's going to happen. Just like the big giant butthole pecker for the rhino analogy, right? The Canadians, you don't get that. No. You don't get to be little Vermont that hides next to the rhino, and we take all the brunt. Angry North Koreans, Russia wants to blow someone up. China's got to flush hard drugs to destroy a country somewhere. Oh, that won't be you. We'll take the brunt of it, but you get all the fruits. No. So we're going to snuff you out. You either stick with us or you're out. That all being said, I want to know, how does it affect all of us if one of us is just a total money pit? If like California is making all these decisions that are economically detrimental, everybody's stealing from your stores and everybody's poor. You've had a moratorium stay on evictions for 3 years now, but still charging landlords real estate tax. That bubble's gonna. So I want to know, when your hole gets so deep, how does that affect the rest of us?
Well, you know what happened last year too?
What?
California had a $97 billion surplus.
Right.
So they went from a pretty major surplus all the way down to, oh my God, we got to
The biggest deficit. It's
One of the
almost like
biggest
those economic
deficits.
decisions they were making were not good.
Well, part of it, what part of it was is they projected about 54. Part of that surplus was $54 billion worth of additional revenue from income taxes. Where do you think all those income taxes went? Probably out of state.
Why?
They moved away from California. So in 2022, they have, here's
Yeah,
our
there was a
here's our
mass
here's our
exodus.
surplus, and they, if you remember, they gave money back to the citizens, which normally I'd be for that. So, hey, government, thanks, thanks for being a citizen. Here's some of your taxes back. But in this case, they didn't really do the math or finalize all the numbers here first before they sent those checks out, and now they're back. They're probably in the hole what they sent the checks out to be from all this lost revenue. And here's the other thing too. So what happened in 2021 that would leave a surplus for 2022? A bunch of government spending. So all these omnibus packages that we had that were probably additional COVID, like the CARES Act, that went further down the road, that a lot of that money went and just pumped into state budgets and paid for all sorts of different things, from unemployment to roads and infrastructure that they would normally have to foot the bill for. Now they don't have to foot the bill for, and they still get to keep all of the tax income because they're not collecting any less taxes. They're collecting the same amount as they were the year prior, if not maybe a little bit more. And now they get to claim, the surplus. This is all just smart budgeting that Gavin Newsom himself did, when in reality, he's just fudging, just like a typical politician, just really fudge the numbers, lie a little bit, and all of a sudden now next year, don't worry about 2022. We're in 2023 now. This is, don't worry about that surplus. We got to figure out a way to fix our problem here now. It's just gross. This whole thing just absolutely. That's why I hate politicians, and in just California in particular, just seems to why do we just go both ways on this? It's too many extremes on
I
this
can
end.
see that. Brian, comments?
Ricky said, when you don't care about crime, shit goes to shit. It's very well said.
For real. And here's what's interesting. We're talking about a country that, like you pointed out, experienced a mass exodus. It wasn't because the sunshine was uncomfortable.
Yep.
Right.
No,
So people want to be in California. Why'd they all leave? You've made it unaffordable to live there. Those that are still residing there for free, a homelessness problem that's the worst across the country. Well, guess what? Did you know they're not paying taxes? Crazy. So
Nope.
when you just another statistic I don't have at hand is the money that is paid out to the people that operate the homelessness programs in California. We're talking millionaires are running homelessness programs for the government. So we keep giving super bonuses and raises to the people whose
they're misappropriating
noble-
the funds.
right, but they're taking it's a misappropriation of funds, like you said, but we're talking about the organizations and their leaders that have taken on the noble pursuit to save homelessness, and yet they're getting planes. But that's what it costs to afford to live in California. The delicate balance here is you reap what you sow. But back to the spirit of what I was saying before, we are all one. So what do we do in a world where what you are sowing is increasingly an anchor holding us back or weighing us down? Brian, what's up?
Ricky said they're all friends, which
Yeah, that's part of the problem too.
That's probably true. Yeah, it wouldn't. And there's a reason why they don't, like, these budgets don't want to be audited. If you're a politician, please don't audit my budgets. I don't want anyone to take a bigger look at this, because if they do, we're going to see a lot of waste here for this program. And it's just going to be, and then this whole house of cards just starts crumbling. Because if you do it, then I'm going to have to start doing it, and everyone's going to start doing it. And then all of a sudden, there's no more government money to go around. And that would actually, this is going to be unpopular in this table. But if the government stops spending money, the economy is going to go crumble quickly.
But what I was alluding to before, that money, did you know the government doesn't sell beans? They don't.
They don't.
So that money they spend only comes from the stupid hamsters in a hamster wheel. But the less hamsters you've got running in that hamster wheel, the less money they get to spend. So as the deficit continues to grow and you continue to breed a society with less hamsters to siphon money from, where do they get that money? Again, they're not selling beans.
Now, would you probably concede also that California is still the biggest economy in the United States?
Totally. Yes.
It
Yeah.
is,
I think it was like
it's like California,
one of the
Texas,
highest world GDPs in the world. One of the highest GDPs in the world.
Yeah, so I still think they're pulling their weight. In fairness to California, because I don't think I'm the biggest fan of just.
But
California
wait. What
politics.
is pulling your weight if your deficit outweighs your weight?
I don't think their deficit outweighs their weight. 'Cause they're not even 100 million. We're sending 100 million to Ukraine just because we're throwing that out there. Where California, I think even the part of this is the projected revenue. So that money that was there is now going to like Texas or going to some of these other states. This was just a radical. It's just dumb. It's dumb accounting. It's going, well, I'm going to have this money, so I'm going to spend this money. It's like spending a bonus you think you're going to get next year, and then it doesn't actually come. Well, yeah, you're still making money. You're still the breadwinner of the house, but it doesn't mean.
But that the spirit of your optimism only holds weight insofar as they have this deficit. They spent their bonus check without getting the bonus. Well, the optimism only comes from them then learning from that and politically adapting. Problem is with government, cuts don't come. They only take more and more and more. So the spending next year can't go down. We're committed to a system that is this high. So in the spirit of things, yeah, let's hope that the migration of this new AI technology taking leaders to California and all of that being said, I'd like to hope that this market continues to boom so great that it outweighs this deficit that they have. But I feel like it's a fool's dream to believe that politicians, as we agree, have this human flaw to them. I think it's a fool's dream to think that a politician would be willing to take less for the sake of beating this as we watch a $400 trillion deficit continue to snowball. There has yet to be one politician to go, hey, let's just stop the deficit, not continue to make it worse, but even stop it. The problem is when it's not your money, now the negative in front of the number, it means nothing, because that's a future California politician's problem. And I don't have one. I can continue to make that number bigger and not have to spend less. This is this faulty problem that we've created of just printing more money. Like this thing is going to combust or bottom out because we just continue to kick the can.
Yeah, but I don't think the state's not printing money. It's the federal government. If the state were able to print money,
I'm making an analysis between two things. Like the deficit number, what's 60? We just went through every state. Some of them are, what's 68 billion and 75 billion? If both of them are just numbers on a screen, right? So unless there's actual weight to that debt, no politician's going to change the momentum they're on. Like, we'll just make the debt bigger.
Well, I think where I disagree with that is when you're in state politics, the politicians are more representative, more people. So more people have power. More groups of people have power to be able to change things, vote those out, vote those in. There is, and also with state budgets too. When you do run out of money, you run out of money. There's no because there is no printing more money, and to be able to give yourself that tender, are you able to actually take out more loans? There is a finite amount of loans you're able to take out as a state, and I think some states have a balanced budget initiative. I think Ohio does. I don't quote me on that one, but I believe they do. Does the problem get so bad to where, all right, Jim, Jerry, Larry, Sally, you're out. We're hiring it, or we're voting in new representatives, and now we're going to do, and then the state balanced budget initiative is going to be the number one thing on everyone's list, because so I think when a state does go down and deficit and being able to spend, that directly. That affects the individual citizen a lot more sharply than it would like the
That's
federal
fair.
government.
Definitely. That's
So
definitely.
that's where my optimism comes from with this. I think California can right the ship. I really do. It is it's a beautiful state. They do a lot of wonderful things there. Hollywood,
Hollywood is not one of the wonderful things.
iconic American our iconography right there with Hollywood. Golden Hollywood. There's still some movies you like, and they're
I love
out there.
Hollywood.
There's but they're not.
They are
it's-
demons.
It's I think it's a they're on a downslope. I think they can right that ship pretty easily and get back to kind of more of that essence of that golden age of Hollywood that I think we romanticize in our minds.
I could appreciate that. Brian, wrapping thoughts.
California is a necessary burden on America. But you know,
Every boat has to have an anchor.
yeah. So
It's fair.
we have to have our
just as much as
scapegoat.
they're an anchor, they are a sail, right? Like
True.
I can't even pretend otherwise.
Like an unreliable engine.
yeah.
They get us forward. Sometimes they might stall out a little bit.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this clip from the Rethink Tank Live. Join us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. streaming across the platforms on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. We do our best to promote user engagement, and we want you involved. So be sure to bring your perspective live so we can get you in the dialogue. See you then.